Aloha once again, friends and family. I have never been compelled to speak about reptilians ever, really, to anybody, much less on a video. But I think it's time to bring it up, because number one, they're real, and that's a tough word to use because real these days is pretty subjective. But they're real in the sense that they have infiltrated. Well, they haven't just infiltrated. First of all, they're natives. They're natives to the earth. And let's just digress for a second. According to them, the reptilians, the Elohim came down to earth and took primitive humans off of the earth and genetically, let us say, upgraded them, which really just means it sped up evolution. So instead of waiting for millions and millions and millions of years for an evolutionary process to have its effect upon man, they sped it up. And they did this. We're presently in the seventh, let us say, race of humans that have been genetically upgraded by the Elohim. Okay, but the reptilians were here even before that. Certainly before us, if that's true, that we got genetically upgraded and sped up evolutionary processes. So from their standpoint, the reptilian standpoint, this planet belongs to them because they were here first, which is a very kind of childish, immature, they're my toys, so you can't play with them type of an attitude. But that's the type of attitude reptilians have. Reptilians are very egoic, very egotistical, and very non-human in the sense of humans have emotions, humans have the capacity and the potential to be fully integrated by their spirits, and in that sense, one with God, one with the Creator of all. So these reptilians have infiltrated governments to around 70%. So if you find out about reptilians and their agenda, you start to realize, well, it's the exact agenda of these freaks in government that we see now, where they're wanting, the reptilians want humans almost completely eradicated and total domination of the planet or this realm. And if you look at the current fake treasonous government, they're acting, talking, speaking, and looking just like reptilians. Not physically, though. I'm not saying they look like the green lizards. They're able to, they call it shape-shifting, and I'm not so sure that they're actually shape-shifting in the way that we think of shape-shifting. I think they have an ability to use their minds in ways that we could too if we were to advance ourselves even further through natural means, integrating spiritual truths and cosmic laws. But they are strictly service to self, and they have some sort of ability to, and I don't even know how to explain it or describe it, so I'm just going to say they send out a signal, some sort of a mental signal that causes a less aware human to see them as a human, when really they're not humans. Reptilians are not humans. So when you see a reptilian that looks like a human, that's not a human, that's a reptilian. You're just seeing what you think is a human, and they have this ability to cause human minds to see them in different forms. And like I said, I think we also have this ability, or we have access to this ability, or we will, learn and develop this ability ourselves. Not for the sake of deception, though. Because everything a reptilian does, or a government official does, is for deception and deceit and self-gain and ego and control and all the other crap words we could add to what they're about. So why has over 100 food making facilities in America been destroyed in the last year to 2 years? Why are cows dying by the tens of thousands all over the world? Why are crops being burned? If there's not some major agenda by some really deviant people that are creating a food crisis, creating parts and supplies crisis, creating a financial crisis. And I'm not saying this in terms of, oh, well, it's going all their way, because it's not. It's not all going their way. It's really, the world has awakened to the degree now to where it's not going their way. See, if the world hadn't awakened, or wasn't awakening, this would all be going their way. You would be thinking what you would have been thinking 2, 5, 10 years ago. If you heard me talking like this, you'd be like, this dude's a tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorist, crazy nut, none of this is true. But see, you've awakened enough to now you could at least entertain the idea. And again, they're just puzzle pieces or dots to connect, and many people are connecting the dots, putting the pieces together. And just to deviate for a minute into religion, and how religion, I think religion meant well when it wrote some of the things that it wrote. And again, I don't think we have all of what they did right. I think we've intentionally been allowed to know only so much, and so you only see in the Bible the amount that they allowed you to see. And very early in the story, does it not speak about, they said a snake? Well, I think they changed that. I think in the Garden of Eden, a reptilian is what spoke to Eve and deceived and tricked Eve. A reptilian. But they couldn't say a reptilian, because then everybody would be like, well, what's a reptilian? Prove it, prove a reptilian. So they just said snake, because everybody knows what a snake is. But a snake is just symbolic for reptilian. So they meant well by trying to shed light on the reptilians, is my point of their story. They were meaning well, but see, it quickly got distorted into something fantastical and unreal, which I believe to be Satan and the demons. See, I don't think there is a Satan and a demons and hell in the sense of what religion has taught. But there is reptilians, and reptilians conduct themselves like demons. They do things that you would expect demons to do, or Satan to do. But see, it's a big disadvantage to all of us to be thinking that Satan and demons are real, when really what was real was reptilians. But see, they got the spotlight off of them. And so now if you're gonna, you know, the religious mind will try to blame evil and bad and all that on Satan and demons, which you can't get your hands on, right? You can't incarcerate, you can't hold to accountability Satan or demons, and you certainly can't prove that there's some eternal hell, which is just taking that story to its full extreme. But if reptilians are real, and they are, then you could hold them to account. You could incarcerate them. You could hold them accountable for what they are doing and have done and continue to do. But as long as everybody's still deeply programmed to think, oh, reptilians, you know, that's just a bunch of hogwash, this, that, and the other, then they're going to keep right on getting by with doing everything they're doing. And at least, I mean, at the very least nowadays, people are now holding the politicians and the people in positions of power and this, that, and the other. They're seeing that these people are guilty as sin. These people are the cause of all this trouble and problems and this, that, and the other. They just haven't made that final piece of the connection that these people are not people. They're reptilians. That's why they're so evil. That's why they're so heartless. That's why they can drink adrenochrome and do the horrific things that people like Hillary Clinton did to that little girl in that video. And there's more than one now. Because, you know, if you think on a human level, you think to yourself, there's no way in hell humans could be so freaking heartless, emotionless. Now, there's another aspect to this, and that is that reptilians can essentially do what the Bible says is possession. They can possess a human, but they can only possess a human that's at a certain low consciousness level, low frequency level. In other words, they couldn't just come and jump into me or you because our frequency's too high. And if they attempt to, and this is all done through the mind, this is all a mental process, psychological process. If they tried to do it to somebody like you or me, there would be a kickback, like a, well, I don't know how else to say it, a kickback. And it would kick back to them, and it would actually hurt them. So they don't attempt too much to possess someone like you or me. But somebody that's really, really egoic, really, really carnal, really just dead set that they are the human interface in this realm, then they're easy targets for reptilians for possession. See, that's all the humans, that's all the 3D into the 4D realm is an interface for consciousness. All these things you're seeing right here are symbols. My body is a symbol of me. That tree is a symbol. That plant is a symbol. The flower is a symbol. The rock is a symbol. The mountain is a symbol. Everything is a symbol in this realm for the sake of interfacing. But what is interfacing? And see, if you think you're the body and the mind and the man, you will say, well, it's your brain. Your brain, no, that is a symbol. Your brain is a damn symbol too. This is all interface for consciousness. And when you get to that level, or you start getting higher in these levels of understanding, you begin to realize that your eyes are not just viewers, but they're also projectors. And the way that all these symbols align themselves out here, or the way that these symbols appear and interact with you, is all sort of pre-positioned by the consciousness. It's really, really fascinating to realize all these things about ourselves, our earth, our world, our lives, that we just had no idea of. And nobody, again, these reptilians hid the truth really well. They're masters at it. And I'm going to tell you too, they're a lot smarter than humans when it comes to mind, intellect. Like, let's say you were going to go intellectually battle with the reptilian, you're going to get your ass kicked. Trust me, you are going to get your butt whooped if you try to go intellect to intellect with a reptilian. But any intellect, reptilian, human, what have you, tries to go one-on-one with consciousness, they're going to get their butt kicked. Because nothing trumps consciousness. Because consciousness basically emanates from God and is God and manifests through, you know, all the layers that we've spoken of many times, until we get out here to this interfacing realm, this 3D realm. It's all for interaction, interface, and these are all symbols. All of this stuff is symbolic. And I'm coming to understand that none of it's fundamental. Meaning, there's not a big, giant, vast cosmos that you are this little speck within. Because without you observing it, and without your consciousness, none of it's really there, because it all is manifesting for the sake of interfacing. So it really comes down to the speck, whatever we're considering the speck, you know, self, causes the cosmos to manifest. A massive, massive realm for interfacing. But if you remove the consciousness from the whole scene, you're left with the equivalent of upgraded Neanderthal symbols that aren't very intelligent, that don't have access to what we would say is the truth, and conducts itself completely as a service to self-ego to gain as much during this simulation as it can. Which seems kind of dumb, doesn't it? Because you're going to leave this simulation and everything you gained and gathered, you are leaving behind. You're only going to take with you wisdom. And I believe it says in the Bible that with all your getting, make sure you get wisdom. Because that's the only thing you're taking with you. And I don't say that lightly. That's a great, grand, immense thing to take with you if you get it, if you get some of it. And if you get enough of it, you don't have to come back to this particular world to interface in this type of a way in order to awaken. Because consciousness awakens to a high degree by coming to understand what it is not. Are you a reptilian? No, you're not. Are you a selfish, greedy bastard? No, you're not. Are you a tree? No, you're not. Are you this? Are you that? Are you that? So by going through a list of a million things that you're not, you begin to understand what you are. Which is, I shouldn't even try to clarify it or define it, because it falls terribly short, I'm sure. But we're pure, formless, conscious being. Okay, now we're back to God. God is not a being. God is being. See, when God is a being and you're a being, you're separate. You're separated. You're in duality. You're not fully awake. But when you come to realize that God is not a being, but is being, well, who does the is being? If not you, if not me. And who does the co-creating of this thing we call our life? A being that's separate from you, off someplace? Or is it simply you being you? That creates your reality. That creates your world. That creates your experiences. And in that world, in that realm, in that state of consciousness, you and God are one. Being together. Love, unity, and light as always, my beautiful friends and family, until we meet again.